Welcome back, everyone. It's been a little while, hasn't it? I decided to take a few days off because it's Christmas and it was my birthday, and we did a lot at the start of this month, but I cut it short. Cut it a little bit short because there was something quite important that happened on Christmas Day, which, aside from, of course, the celebration of the birth of the baby Jesus, was also Games Workshop revealing Fulgrim. So they decided to drop that. That was nice. That was good. That was fun. I'm now finally home and able to actually talk about it. So let's have a look at the man himself, the man, snake, winged, whatever, the demon prince himself, kneel before the immaculate form of Fulgrim. I don't think immaculate is the word. I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't think that's an accurate word for this, but you know what? We'll let them have it. The immaculate form of Fulgrim, Daemon Primarch of Slaanesh. We've got the four big ones. We've got the four, god-aligned, single, deity-worshipping. We've got the big ones now. That's kind of cool. That's fun. When are they going to give the best boy Lorgar his model? That's my next question. But I am for now grateful that we've got Fulgrim. We've got a little bit of blurb at the start here, but really, we don't need any of that. We don't need any of that unless there's new information, which there isn't. Let's just have a look at the man himself. Look at that. That's honestly closer to the Horus Heresy one than I thought they would go with it. But that's a tiny picture. That's a lot better. Let's have a proper look. First things first. The face is not what I was expecting. I thought they were going to maintain a bit more of the kind of, the very sort of beatific look of the Horus Heresy one. Instead, we've got a sort of deranged, demented version, which, to be fair, I think kind of fits current era Fulgrim a bit better. In fact, you know what? Let's get the other one up as well, and then we can switch back and forth, because this is genuinely a lot closer to the one that we have the Horus Heresy than I thought they were going to go. But then again, they stayed very accurate to kind of what I assume a lot of our mental images were, those of you who have those, of like what we thought Fulgrim would be with that original Horus Heresy version, which looks fantastic. I mean, it just does look great. I do remember thinking at the time that what else could they do? Like, what else could they do for Fulgrim in terms of a Daemon Primarch model? Because this is it, right? This is what he looks like. This is the state that he's in. What could they possibly change to make a plastic version of this? And it turns out what they can change is actually quite a lot, because although the template is the same, the execution is considerably different. I do think the wings, I'm hoping that the wings actually are a bit bigger than they look, because that is one of the things I quite like about the Horus Heresy one, but they also look like an absolute pain in the arse to deal with in every single way, so if they're not that big, then it's not the end of the world. But there is like, I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this, because I've been thinking about it a bit. It feels like a difference in purpose, right? So if you look at the Horus Heresy Fulgrim, you have got like armoured, segmented scales on the snake-like body. You've got proper armour. You've got just normal weapons. So I say normal, obviously they're very fancy because it's Fulgrim and there'll be all sorts of fancy stuff going on with them, but this looks like a creature of not just excess, but also war. There's a lot of concessions made to be, resistant against attacks, to be quick, to be well armoured as well. Like, it feels like this is Fulgrim whilst there's still stuff to do. Whereas this does not feel like this is Fulgrim when there's still stuff to do. A massive change is the big old snake body right there. Firstly, peeling his own skin back and then attaching it to the rest of his skin to expose some sort of like implanted Slaanesh symbol that is like grafted into the flesh. I've seen many phrases for that particular feature of this model, and I'm not going to repeat the most popular one because it's grim, but that is not something that someone does when they have got a purpose behind them, and when they're looking for something that, they could be negatively impacted by, say, someone cutting them right there, for instance. The other one doesn't have that. We have a properly armoured segment on the front of the snake body there, the serpent body. We don't have that here. The armour is gone. It's just missing. There's a bit on top, yeah, but instead we have exposed flesh, we have stretched back skin. Everything on the underside of that serpentine body is really like smooth and soft, and it's no longer armoured, it's no longer scaled, it's not going to turn aside any sort of, significant blow. Instead, it looks like it's just been worn down by however many years of slithering about. We also have all these like fleshy protuberances. You've got like sort of fins and things sticking out of the top. There's fins coming out of the side, which again, not present in that older model, which again speaks to something a little bit different. The swords are present, but the spear is gone, and now there's some sort of whip in one of his hands as well, which is a significant departure. The wings have now got these little decorative sections on them, which they don't need. That is just for the look of it. That's just because he wants to have those extra sections there. Even the upper body armor feels different. It was always fancy, but there's a lot less of it. It also feels like things like the horns. The horns looked relatively natural before, although they have been decorated and changed slightly. The horns on the new model, they look shaped. They look like they've been purposefully manipulated to create this kind of crown-like visage. And of course, a massive departure is that face. The face right now, the face on the new model, is kind of mad. He just looks very sort of, I don't know, he just looks a bit demented. He looks deranged. He doesn't look together and purposeful. He just looks like too much is going on. Too much has happened, and he needs more of it. But really, we all know that he doesn't really need more of it. Even things like the cloak at the back. I know that there was a bit of fabric going on here, but there wasn't a full-blown, glorious flowing cape going on. But there is there. There's very much a nice silky cape, which, I mean, he's got the body of a snake. You don't need a cape when you got the body of a snake, alright? Cloak's out of the question. Not something you necessarily want with that particular body shape, and yet that's what he wants, because it lends a certain air to it. I do really think that, the older one looks like the perfect... the lunatic's idea of the perfect form for all manner of things, right? If you need to go super fast, well, you got a super slinky snake body. If you need to fight multiple opponents, you've got 4 arms capable of holding a variety of different weapons. If you need to fly, you've got giant wings. And then encased in all of that, you have this really nice ornamental but functional armour. You've got these segmented plates, you've got these scales all over the body. And yes, there are horns, but they're not hugely over the top. They're not massively sculpted or altered. They look relatively natural, but then you want a bit of decoration on them, right? You compare that to this, and the protection at the front of the body is not just gone, but the inner flesh of that serpent base is exposed. The skin is stretched back. The armour has shrunk. It is nowhere near as all-encompassing as the previous version of its armour was. You've scrapped things like the spear for what looks like some sort of Dark Eldar-esque whip. The horns have gone from looking like natural growths to sculpted effects that are designed to make it seem as though you're looking at something with a huge crown. The wings have gone from functional to having ornamentation on them. There is no reason to have those kind of... I mean, what would you even call those? Bangles around the wings? They're not present on the older version, but they are present on this one. And things like just stuff to make you look better, like a massive cloak, that's now on the table, whereas previously a bit of decoration was there, but not to this extent. Even down to things like the fins coming out the side, the protuberances coming out the top of that snake body, all of that stuff just makes it look like it's the same form, but the purpose is different. The driving factor behind it is different. There is a whole half of this body that has been allowed to get softer. The amount of armour has been significantly reduced. The reach on the weapons has changed, or at least the style of the weapons has changed. This may just come from reading too many fantasy novels or just watching fantasy films, but in my head, a spear is a traditional and very effective weapon. A whip, generally speaking, I think the forefront is not combat, it's punishment. That by itself is a significant change here. And of course, a massive difference is the face. I mean, Fulgrim used to be beautiful. Now he looks like an absolute demented lunatic. There's no other way to put it, right? There's no other way to phrase it. He looks like a psychopath. He's suddenly got sharp, angular features, and instead of a look of calmness, instead there is a look of whatever that is. Now, what does he actually have weapons-wise? Let's have a look. Let's have a go through and see what we've got. So the Daemon Primarch Fulgrim is a grotesque manifestation of the great fall of the once noble Emperor's children, etc., etc. We know this. Loyalty to Slaanesh gets you a serpent arse and forearms. No mention of wings there. No mention of wings. Look at that. Rewarded with a forearm serpentine form and power beyond mortal ken. I mean, the power of flight, is that beyond mortal ken? I don't think so. His panoply shifts according to his whims. At times his arms end monstrous talons or perhaps gilded gauntlets. Though his form is rarely fixed, he nevertheless favours the ostentatious and intricate and enters battle covered in a kaleidoscopic raiment of serrated scales. Well, there's a bit of serrated scales, but not that many. Perfumed silks, glimmering jewels, polished metals and flayed skin, all silhouetted by vast demonic wings which bear him aloft. Okay, they've said vast demonic wings. The key word there for me is vast. I'm really hoping an alternate angle makes it seem like the wings are a bit more substantial than they are. Okay, we've got some close-ups. Let's have a look at those. I mean, straight away, once again, the painting is fantastic. I mean, they really sell it. They really sell it with the painting. It looks like we've kind of got an interesting power pack thing going on there at the back. What is that? Is that just a bit of decoration? Or is that an actual power pack? It looks like there's cables going into the wings, which is super interesting. We've got a bit of a chaos symbol on the back there, a nice bit of filigree decoration. The armour across the sort of snake hips looks pretty cool. Also the way it's held on, it looks like you've got cloth and then rings attached at the top. That's kind of fun. Oh, and the cloak is attached in a similar way to how it's attached to the Keeper of Secrets. That's kind of fun. I do like that shoulder pad. That's nice. And the gauntlet, the sort of like sharp-fingered gauntlet, that's a nice touch. I think the kind of ribbed black sections are like Under Armour stuff, but it's kind of hard to tell. I don't think that's his actual body, because, you know, you can see his arms there, quite pale, very pasty. Again, very nicely painted, but yeah, I think that's some sort of like special, like extra layer between the armour and the body. I really, just on an existential level, hate that Slaanesh symbol embedded in the flesh. The way that the skin's stretched back and then attached to other bits of skin is just, it's just not nice. I hate it in the way that I love it when they do gross body horror stuff. Like, it's fantastic, it looks brilliant. It also makes me deeply uncomfortable, which is what you want out of good body horror, right? What is that weird green shape going on by the hair there? What is that? Oh, hang on, that's the big wing. The old, I've immediately forgotten what it's called. It said it on the page, but it's gone out of my head now. It's that. It's the symbol. Except they didn't. I mean, maybe they did just decide to paint it kind of flat green on the back for some reason. But okay, that confused me. But that's fine. Now I know what that is. No problem. Cool. There are some nice details here. There are some really nice details. I do like that armour. That armour is fantastic. It is quite different to the Horus Heresy model, that armour, but I mean, it feels like it's become a bit more traditional chaos, but then that will also fit better with the, I'm assuming, reimagined Emperor's Children Noise Marines. So that's, you know, that's obviously a good thing. It does feel more decadent and more kind of depraved just overall. Yeah, there's definitely just an air of more depravity than you got with the Horus Heresy one. Okay, let's read a little bit more. Some of his weapons are manifestations of Fulgrim's sheer will. Which weapons? Which one? Which specifically are manifestations of his will? Yeah, the whip. I mean, I'm asking. It's the whip, innit? It's definitely the whip. I've just realised the claw, the big old lobster claw on the end of the tail. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not sure. I need time to process that. I mean, it's... I don't know. We'll get back to it. Anyway, Others are trophies taken from worthy opponents, though some have spotted a heavy but relatively plain broadsword among this ever-rotating armoury. And we've got more close-up angles. Okay, let's just finish reading that bit, because I'm interested in this sword now. Those of the Emperor's children who have been lucky enough to observe Fulgrim wield this fine but unadorned blade with quicksilver speed say that it bears a great resemblance to a weapon once given to him by someone of great importance many millennia past. Oh, so that's going to be Fireblade, right? That's probably going to be Fireblade. I'm assuming it's Fireblade, unless there's a story that we haven't been told yet. Right, let's see some more of the old close-ups. So we've got a bit of the tail, we've got the head. The body that used to just be a big snake body, now is all sorts of gross. It's so smooth on the underside, and they've painted it to look all smooth as well. And it's just upsetting, and I don't like it. I mean, I do like it. I like it because I don't like it, but I don't like it. But it's really cool, and for some reason, it just sits wrong. I'm just bleh. We've still got some of that scaly stuff on top, though. Like, it definitely feels like there's an evolution here, that there is a conscious effort to make it look more like less fighty and more silky. I don't know. I don't even like saying that out loud. But you can definitely see those scales that are still present are very similar to the ones on the Horus Heresy version, right? The shoulder pad, again, looks fantastic. God, the horns really are so over the top. And, like, deliberately so. Deliberately so. The decorations and little trinkets on the tail as well, something that was not present before, and again just speaks to wanting more, which obviously makes total sense, Slaanesh, etc. But it's all just adding up to painting a fun picture as to this is what happened when he first transformed, and this is him now, and yeah, you can tell that there's been a lot of dedication to Slaanesh in the in-between times. Let's talk about the Crabclaw. I don't mind it. I think it's fine. I think something that's throwing me is that it is painted kind of like a crab / lobster / just a sort of crustacean-y claw, rather than it being like black or something. Something that is more typical. So like when you look at like demonettes and stuff, quite often it'll be the sort of pinky purple skin, and then the claws will be a kind of darker black-ish colour with a bit of blue highlighting and stuff. And I think I would find it easier to process that if it was closer to that. Instead it looks quite naturally coloured, which is just throwing me off a little bit. But that might just be a whole personal preference thing. That's not to say that it looks bad paint job-wise. In fact, the paint job looks fantastic. I just feel like it's... For some reason, it doesn't quite gel for me right now, but that is an extremely minor complaint on a model that overall I think looks absolutely fantastic. Now, this is excellent. Fulgrim comes with 5 different heads, 1 helmeted and 4 permitting you a choice of expressions from furious contempt to withering arrogance. I really like that there's that many options. Like, that's cool. That's really nice. I have to admit, with the 3 heads right there is a distinct kind of... I don't know. One, he looks super happy, then he looks confused, then he's got the sort of the helmet going on, and then he just looks like he's having an absolute whale of a time. Couldn't be happier. Just absolutely loving life, enjoying whatever he's doing, which is probably making someone else's life thoroughly miserable. I don't know. I think... I'm not sure how I feel about the helmet. This might be, and I realise that this may be a first. This might be a first. I don't know that the helmet is really doing anything for me. Normally, I'm like, yeah, helmeted version, let's go. Usually prefer a helmet to a bare head. But for this specific model, I just don't... I'm just not feeling the helmet. It just doesn't quite look right, and I don't really know why. I think it's because it doesn't really conform to any particular design. I don't know. There's this kind of interesting multi-layered thing going on, which is kind of cool, but a little bit jarring for me. It's also oddly angular at the sides, whilst being quite soft in the middle. It looks very flat as well, but I can't tell if it actually is flat or whether it's just the angle of the photograph being just like head on. I kind of need to see it from another angle to really get a feel for it. I feel like if it juts out a little bit where the grill is, that I think would warm me to it a bit. But right now it feels very kind of one-dimensional almost. But I will say with those close-ups, the big old wing there, that looks absolutely lovely. I mean, look how nicely painted that is. Good lord. The soft pink to kind of greeny yellow, the blending across all those... whoever painted this, absolutely quality job on that part. Well, I mean on all of it, really, but that part especially I really like. This latest version of the demonic third Primarch joins his brothers Magnus, Mortarion and Angron as a plastic kit. Just like them, he appears corrupted by 10,000 years of exposure. Well, yeah, just a little bit. The difference between his new form and the Fulgrim Transfigured miniature from the Horus Heresy shows the effect the Imperium can have on even the most willing of demonic tyrants. Yeah, I mean, they are pretty much stating it outright. It's worked. It looks great. It looks really good. That is a fantastic model. Like, the only thing that I'm not 100% on is the tail. The very end of the tail. Maybe the wings. But the wings, I'm trying to be mindful when looking at models now, because this has happened a few times where there's been something that's jumped out as being not quite right, and then all it's taken is an alternate angle, and it's been like, oh, no, got it. Okay, fine. The big example that we've used over and over again was Sanguinius, where... oh, that looked rough. Those initial pictures, it was like, what is this? The pose is bad. What is going on? But then seeing it from other angles, it was like, oh, okay, the context was not there for this particular model. I'm trying to remember that more, because this is one of those situations where right now I'm thinking the wings look a bit too small. But then again, we've also been conditioned in terms of Fulgrim in this form already due to this model, where the wings are absolutely massive, which I do like, but I also concede that they seem like just a nightmare to deal with. If you have this version of Fulgrim and they're not that much of a pain to deal with, then do let me know. But, my gut instinct was kind of, oh dear God, I would not want to transport that, or really maybe paint it either. These, by contrast, seem significantly smaller, but it could well be that they go back further. I feel like there's depth to those wings that is being hidden. Like, really hidden by just having this front shot of the model. I suspect they go back further and are actually a bit more sort of cavernous on the inside than they look right now. So I'm just trying to keep that in mind. Everything else, though, pretty damn good. Honestly, pretty damn good. I mean, that is a solid model. And I think they've done a really good job of showing progress, or at least telling a story. We basically already had this model. We've already had it. We already have the Horus Heresy version. We already have, the Transfigured, the Ascended version of Fulgrim for quite a while now. And yet, despite the fact that we're getting ostensibly the same character in the same form, admittedly in plastic, not resin, not that makes much of a difference when it comes to, basically making the same character twice, and not that far apart, really, either in the grand scheme of Games Workshop releases. It being different enough, but still recognisable, but still showing a distinct shift from, the initial transformation to however many years of excess and more warp corruption. That's pretty cool. That's pretty damn cool, and I think they've pulled it off. I think they've really pulled it off. I will say as well that there's elements of this model that feel very, inspired by, I guess, AOS releases in terms of the Hedonites of Slaanesh. It feels like there is some direct influence going on there, and that's good. It's just good. The Hedonites of Slaanesh, that range for AOS, have got some of the best Slaanesh miniatures that Games Workshop have ever done, and it feels like some elements of that have made their way over to Fulgrim, which looks incredible and just makes me super excited to see what the rest of the Emperor's Children stuff is going to be like. So there you go, that was a much longer look at Fulgrim than I originally intended to do, but there was a lot to look at because he looks absolutely fantastic, and I'm really, really happy, and now I just want to see the rest of it, which, you know, we're going to have to wait a while to see the rest of the Emperor's Children stuff, but that was solid. That looked really good. They've done a good job with him. Let me know what you think of Fulgrim, the new Fulgrim, the third Fulgrim model we've received. Technically fourth now, isn't it? Yeah, the fourth, because there was the little, was it the little epic one? That, yeah, we won't talk about that one. But pretty damn good. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I hope you had a lovely Christmas. I hope you have a lovely New Year if I don't speak to you before. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you for the next one.